out of my dreams to my real life. Cause girl, I wanna know how you feel like, yeah. Come closer to me, let the stars align, yeah. In the middle of the night, you bring the sunshine. Miss Lady, she have a pot on the fire, burn a flame when she cooking, yeah. She have a government name, but I call she good looking. Oh. And she look innocent, but she know what she doing. Oh, it's not the pot on the fire, but the seasoning she put in. She have me balling, kaya, kaya, kaya. Good Lord, Miss Lady, kaya, kaya, kaya. You drive me crazy, kaya, kaya, kaya. Good Lord, Miss Lady, you drive me crazy, yeah. So I tell you, hold on, ride it. I love you, I see in front of it. Slow down, time it. I love you, I see in front of it. I see in front of me. Slow down, time it. I love you, I see in front of me. I love you, I see in front of me. She have a pot on the fire, burn a flame when she cooking. She have a government name, but I call she good looking. Oh. And she look innocent, but she know what she doing. Oh. It's not the pot or the fire, but the seasoning she put in. She have me balling, kaya, kaya, kaya. Good Lord, Miss Lady, kaya, kaya, kaya. You drive me crazy, kaya, kaya, kaya. Good Lord, Miss Lady, you drive me crazy.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry, east, west, north, south, central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web, a pleasant good day to you. This is, yes, the Corridor Transformation, your host, Lennox Smith. Well, of course, we will be, of course, joined by others, or at least an individual, shortly. We have had discussions, and I think it's the appropriate person. You may or may not be surprised, but that being as it may, let me say that I want to conclude, of course, that series with respect, of course, to Stuart Young and what I consider to be the convoluted, cacophonous, and indeed ambulatory babblings that he displayed. And as I said, of course, talking from both sides of his lips, or if you want to call it both sides of his mouth, when, of course, he talked about his skepticism as to the source of the $3 billion in NGC's coffers that would have accumulated in just less than 1 year. Of course, embarrassing to him and his administration, which he led in a very temporary way as Prime Minister. But the fact is that he went on to, of course, claim that it is he and his, what I consider moribund, lame duck administration was responsible for the ingredients that went into the ultimate product of $3 billion again by NGC. I mean, if there was a case of what the psychologists call cognitive difficulty. Yes, cognitive disability. Yeah, it would have been, of course, this fella. But of course, the absolute term is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance, meaning that, like the fox and the grapes, when he realized that he couldn't get the grapes, he said, what? It ain't good. It had worm in it. It poisoned. Well, that is Stuart Young and the PNM today. Having gotten the opportunity not just once, not just twice, not just 3 times, but more than anybody else, and failed miserably. They then, of course, attempted to try to hoodwink and generate the shenanigans and the deceptions. Of course, all of us are now well familiar with their semantics, their histrionics, acting as if they could be auditioned for any at all movie in Hollywood or Bollywood, as the case may be. They are so incompetent. But let's go straight, of course, to that before the line is consumed by others who would want to share with us information that they would want to, of course, bring to the fore at this time. Let me make sure it is this video. So there we go.
Thank you.
Yes, that's the video.
Good afternoon to members of the media and to the wider viewing and listening public of Trinidad and Tobago. I'd like to start by saying that any positive development for Trinidad and Tobago, anything that will progress Trinidad and Tobago in the right direction, is something that PNM will obviously be happy about and encourage. I'm starting with the crude driving gas issue and smiling at the irony of what we're dealing with here today. Because to take your minds immediately back to President's House, just a few months ago, after the swearing-in of the cabinet, and none other than the Prime Minister announcing to the world at large, Dragon was dead with glee. Dragon is dead, and that they will pursue gas in Grenada, Guyana, and Suriname, and that is where they will be.
I failed, of course, to take issue with that introduction. So let me do that now, and then we will go straight, of course, to where we were, so that we don't waste time with, of course, people like that. But it is important that we do that, simply because there are people who are going to listen to them. Whatever residual credibility they have in some quarters, we need to disabuse that. We need to take it away. We need to reject it and eject it. But let's go straight to the line one time. I told you we're going to get that kind of a situation as we try to finish that issue. But let's go straight to the line. Just let me make certain that everything is all right with this line. Oh boy. Let me make sure. Just a minute. Caller, I know that you are trying to let me take off these glasses. This is a different glasses, and I ain't seeing well in it at all. So let me take it off. All right, let me just make sure just a minute. Are you hearing me, caller? All right, okay. Call back, caller. I was just adjusting the system in the studio to accommodate you. It appears that every time we are on, I need to do that. But somebody has to call first before at least the first caller. From the first caller, I'll be able to move. We wouldn't have a difficulty thereafter, but I have to get the adjustment. So if you are the first caller, in future, please wait until I give you the okay to find out and test to find out whether or not you are hearing me, because I would normally hear, or you might hear me, and of course the sort of mix-up continues. But let me just say. All right. So the call is coming in. Let me don't go further until that happens. What's happening here? Got to. Oh, I see what's happening here. All right, just a minute. Oh, I see what's happening here. All right. Hold on, caller. Hold on. Right. Let me see if I get it now. Get it. All right. System is charging up. It's booting up. Right. Good. All right. So let's see if we get it now. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Let me make sure. Hold on, caller. Are you hearing me now? Are you hearing me, caller? Caller, are you hearing me?
Hello?
Are you hearing me now? Are you hearing me?
Hello?
Yes, yes, yes. What's happening here? I'm not hearing you, boy. Are you hearing me now? Hello? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I hearing you, but you not hearing me.
We didn't hear, we didn't hear
All right.
the opposition,
All right.
we didn't hear them.
All right. You hearing me? You hearing me? All right. Clearly you're not. You're not. All right. Let me cut off this. Let me cut off and find out why it is you're not hearing Stuart Young. All right. Okay. All right. Good. I hear you. I hear you. Let me see what's happening here now. All right. Let's see what's happening here.
We find ourselves right back here today. It is this P&M administration that did the hard work and the legwork from 2016. Thank you, Honorable Penelope
Right,
Beckles, Leader of the Opposition and member of
I trust that you're hearing him now.
Good afternoon to members of the media and to the wider viewing and listening public of Trinidad and Tobago. I'd like to start by saying that any positive development for Trinidad and Tobago, anything that will progress Trinidad and Tobago in the right direction, is something that the PNM will obviously be happy about and encourage. I'm starting with the whole dragon gas issue and smiling at the irony of what we're dealing with here today. Because to take your minds immediately back to President's House, just a few months ago, after the swearing in of a cabinet, and none other than the Honorable Prime Minister, announcing to the world at large, Dragon was dead with glee, Dragon is dead, and that they would pursue gas in Grenada, Guyana, and Suriname, and that is where they would be. We find ourselves right back here today. It is this P&M administration that did the hard work and the legwork from 2016 all the way through to 2025 with respect to the pursuit of the Dragon gas field, which I want to remind Trinidad and Tobago.
And I want to, of course, say categorically that the PNM has found itself in a sort of extended hypothetical scenario that, taken to its logical conclusion, would find them wanting. That statement by itself, Kamala Prasad Bisesa said then, and I have no qualms with the factual nature of the utterance that was made or the position of the government and the Prime Minister at the time. So notice the operative word, at the time. Because it will be disingenuous, if not intellectually dishonest, to not mention that that was a different time. As recent as it was different because things moved exponentially. It moved at a frenetic pace, at a galloping pace. But he will come here after the fact, and all of those factors where he had an obligation, but we noticed that the PNM, every time they have, and they believe that they have an advantage, they then, of course, engage in what I consider to be siloism or silo argument. We saw it during the course of every time when they were in office, every time they want to impose another hardship on the people, they make different arguments and believing that somehow the population will not figure out that it is on their one salary. They're looking, of course, to extract and to pinch and to pillage their one salary, whether it be, of course, those amnesties, those tax amnesties, whether it be trying, or in fact taking your mattress money. Yeah, you remember the conversion of the polymer to what? No, not polymer, but cotton to polymer. Remember that? A scheme. And always in that particular instance, they say that, listen, the $100 bill is the currency or the note of choice of those drug lords and those money launderers, and therefore are given all you a limited time, days, in which to come in, bring in all your cut notes, and then of course we'll exchange it for, ostensibly at the time, polymer, knowing full well that they didn't have enough notes to change. Knowing, because why you could conclude that is because they would have known how much, the bank would have told them how much would have been outside in circulation. Over 800 million. $100 notes would have been outside. But no, they brought in orchestratedly limited amount. So when people come in with their money, the bank say, but listen, we can't give you all of that, even though you don't want to bank with the bank. Even though you have a phobia for the bank, and so many people would prefer to trust their mattress. Put their money in some hiding place and keep it in the house or wherever they feel safe. They feel that it's safe. And in that way, hoodwink, deceive the people into having, or put them in a Hobson's choice. They have no choice but to go and bank with them bank. That is what Rowley and they did. He in particular is saying, now listen, we have nothing to do with the banks and their confidentiality. But guess what? He told us in no uncertain terms on one day, slip of the mouth, but the gods wish to destroy, the first send them mad. So he comes and say, you don't have a barber who come with $1 million. He said that. A barber come with $1 million. How we know that? How we knew that? After claiming, of course, that is strictly a banking and, of course, the customer relations. And impose that kind of, what I consider to be theft. Some people may say legal theft. But that is what they did. And eventually, over $500 million was not exchanged. And there is a logical reason for that. Of course, they will argue that is some money launderer, some drug man who didn't want to come in and change the money because he may have a source of funds problem. But even those who were legitimate had source of funds problem. So much so that the old people, particularly those in the old time mood, who the farmers and so on, who would have cash stored in their mattresses and around the house and don't trust the bank, or more probably, additionally, one can argue that they probably don't like the officialdom to walk in the bank, to have to fill out a slip, etc., because many of them may not be so good in terms of their reading and writing ability, but they could make money and they could save money. But many of them would have foregone the money that they had stashed away, what we call mattress money, and not go to the bank because of the questions that they would be asked, and as typical of the PNM, generate the phobia, the fear that somehow you will get jailed if you can't answer correctly. So people who are very, very, very sensitive to, one, embarrassment, two, police presence and investigation, and three, actually being hauled before the court. And we saw that when the other trick in that period, again exhibited and conspired by an administration that clearly Today, if they were in office, Crapo smoke all of our collective and individual pipes. They're talking about things bad now. That is their narrative. That is their narrative. And all the talk he's talking is to say that they prefer to be there or where Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC and the coalition is because they want to perpetrate. You can't end the sentence by just saying they want to be there. They want to perpetrate, they want to perpetrate the evil that they would have set in train whilst they were in government. Too long. Even getting into government was questionable. In 2015, 23 seats. But of course, the court said that EBC was wrong, but yet still the results must remain the same. And in 2020, they were further reduced in spite of what they said about Kamala Prasad Bisesa and the UNC. And the fact that they had the treasury at their disposal, they were reduced by 1. And the writing was on the wall, so Rowley, get out of it and leave this buffoon to take the fall. I'm trying to see if I'll get on the system. All right, the system seems to be messed up tonight, so let me go straight to the phone instead then. President, good night. I'll take it on the phone tonight. I'm taking it anyhow tonight. President, good night. Welcome to the corridor. Yeah, taking it anyhow tonight.
This is San Fernando.
Yes, go ahead, man.
So in other words, the discussion you're centering around is on the issue with the polymer, the changeover of the money.
Yeah, I was taking it from the series that we have with Stuart Young in recent time, but going back to show how their policies and programs were designed not only to hurt the poor man and everybody else, and to generate a self-satisfaction or should I say an agenda that I don't care about all you, but it's always nestled in some trickery, some chicanery. But go ahead.
I have a word for you.
Go ahead.
So in other words, but before I give you the word,
Yeah.
So in other words, what you are saying is a lot of people lost their money through that nasty system that.
Oh yeah. This is what I'm saying. 500 million that have not been accounted for. I'm sure that we'll get some clarity on that as the banking management has changed. The central bank are talking about, and of course the government and the Ministry of Finance. Go ahead.
Right. Now the word coming. Hear the word.
Yeah.
You ever hear what they call a snolly guster?
A what?
A snolly guster.
A snolly guster. No, I've not. I can't say I've heard that.
A snolly guster. Let me spell it for you.
Go ahead.
SNOLLYGOSTER is a shrewd or unprincipled person or politician. A politician driven by personal gain rather than principled stand. You follow what I'm saying?
That's it. All right. Give me the spelling again because I'm a stickler for these things. I love to, especially if it's a new one or something that I may have overlooked or might have come across but have forgotten. I'm only human, so just give it again there. I'm trying to be I'm trying to work with both hands, so I'm being ambidextrous. Well, go ahead. Let me hear the word. N N S S N, right? Like in snow. S N N L. Yeah. Two L's. Okay. Y. G-O-S, T-E-R. Right, the snolly guster. All right, okay.
Right.
Thank you.
It is a shrewd person, a shrewd or unprincipled persons, particularly a politician, driven by personal gain rather than principle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I could see Snolly. All right. That seemed to equate with what you are describing there. And then, of course, very enthusiastic. A person with gusto might be very, very focused on trying to deceive. I don't know. I've not seen the word as yet, so I'm just following in the direction that you are leading me. But go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
The word originated in the 1840s, somewhere around there.
Okay.
In the United States of America.
Okay.
But Harry Truman used the term to describe evil politicians and or politicians who were in the Senate in his time. He described them as evil, and there was another term that he used as evil and unprincipled.
I see. Okay.
Harry Truman, you remember
Yeah. The wartime president. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, he used the term to describe politicians at that time who was either evil and unprincipled. So in other words, these people were in the Senate lying to people all the time. And we have that same situation with the PNM now.
Yeah.
You know, they just lie like this, you know, like it is water. Like it is, you know, water flow. They're just going down the road, lie after lie. I don't know. And they feel that people won't catch them.
Yeah.
So, you know, so maybe you could do some more research on the word itself and see, you know.
Yes, I certainly will. I'm seeing something here, but it's not as clear as you have indicated, so I don't want to chance it. But as it's spelled differently here too. Deductive reasoning in which conclusion is derived. No, you can't read that. All right, I'll look it up.
So I guess you're call and ask you, you know,
Yeah. I've not come across that term, but certainly it sounds very interesting and appropriate for the people that just left office and pretending now that they weren't in office and that they are electable at this point in time, when in fact their political currency has lost ground and it is now, of course, zero rated.
Zero.
Zero rated. Yeah. All right then. Maybe to use it, you might be in a case of hyperinflation. We had to carry a barrel of dollars in order to get maybe a loaf of bread. That being as it may, of course, people. So I want to thank the caller for that intervention. Hoping that the system, because it's so convenient to have the system working in such a way, that we will not, I will be able to use both hands, you know, become ambidextrous, you know, using both hands. But that being as it may, for the time being, we will have to work with the inconvenience that is with us at this point in time. Let me just go back. I was making a point that the deception, and so we find ourselves in a situation where the opposition is telling blatant lies, engaged, of course, in what I consider to be, as I say, cognitive dissonance, where they lost something, they're looking to get it back, but will not first repent, do the right thing. And we must be very, very careful, because you cannot say that you put that there. The circumstance under which Kamala Prasad Bissessa said what she said, and I accept that she said that the Jagan deal is dead, and it was dead at that time. So it's no getting away from it. Not because the present government has been able to work in such a way so as to get it back on stream, it doesn't mean that it wasn't dead. From all indication, it was. He went to the United States, come back, went boasting, saying, of course, he's going to consummate and to solidify the OFAC license. Remember that? By the time he reached back in Trinidad, he probably didn't even come off the tarmac yet. they say that they pull it back. He must say that if he wants credibility and he wants to lay claim to anything. Because anybody could say as well that prior to that entire government of which he was a part, Kamala Prasad Bisasa and the UNC was in office between 2010 and 2015, and they would have done something to advance the cause. Maduro was here at that time. There wasn't the embattlement between the United States and Venezuela at that time. And he was accommodated. And it was that very issue of the dragon gas. And if the relations had remained constant, if the relationship had remained in the way that Kamala Prasad Bisasa would have experienced when she was a prime minister between 2010 and 2015, then certainly, if unfortunately the PNM would have taken over, they would have benefited from that. So don't get on as though you are the alpha and omega in terms of the dragon gas. You are a buffoon and a fool and attempting, of course, to hoodwink the population and to rewrite history. You are a blatant and unadulterated revisionist. And revisionists are people who you cannot trust because they want to rewrite history. And of course, to be truthful and to be consistent, prior to that, Manning and therefore PNM administration would have taken that particular matter, the cross-border gas and oil matter, to another level again. Manning, went to Venezuela on the same mission. So who the hell is you? Who the hell is you? You want to start history at your convenience? A neophyte and a person who clearly is showing that he's out of it all entirely. I loathe people who are so arrogant and contemptuous of the intelligence of people and trying to hoodwink those of PNM sycophants Sunday. That is what he was trying to do. And I have a difficulty with that because that level of dishonesty is unbecoming and, of course, is unfathomable. Yes, indeed. Yes, sorry about that. I was talking to some people quietly in the studio here. So, we must not be fazed or in any way deceived by that level of dotishness. Maybe it's by serendipity or by divine intervention the phone ain't working too well tonight. Because I'll get a chance, of course, to really complete this exercise. Because it is important. Because there are sycophants and so on who have their doubts. But when people like this speak as though they're speaking authoritatively and speaking, of course, the gospel truth, it's very difficult, particularly where you would have reposed your trust in certain people. And there are people who are around you are saying, yes, 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 yes. They are people who you can trust. Because, of course, clearly, by the 28th of April last year, trusts were thrown out of the window as it relates to the PNM by the electorate. Let's not waste time with that. Let us not waste time with that. So, let's continue to hear him from where we left off on the last occasion. As I said, he started by saying that the money is not true, and then, of course, then saying ultimately afterwards that it is in fact as a result of the doings of the PNM. But I want to say it's circumstance. I prefer to say circumstance, happenstance. And of course, the decision of the electorate over the period, whether it's throwing out the UNC and bringing in the PNM, And of course, as I said, PNM came in under questionable circumstance, but bringing back in the UNC under handsome and irrefutable condition, no controversy at all. Of course, international observers was here, etc., etc. None whatsoever. And that came because, and in spite of the recalcitrance or the propensity or the projection by Rowley in particular to tell us he ain't bringing no observers here because he wanted to thief the elections. Well, the Americans would have had none of it. None of it. Because by that time, their credibility was so low. And the animosity against them in the very places they say that are friendly to them, it showed that they were subjected to a level of deceit for which they were deserving, because they tried to hoodwink the Americans. When they bring Delcy here and a boatload or a tanker load of fuel ended up in Venezuela just after she left. You wasn't playing smart with foolishness. Well, they knew. And that is why your credibility, in addition, of course, to the fact that Rowley and they tried to impose their own personal ideological position on that situation between Venezuela and the United States, to the detriment of Trinidad and Tobago, because you had every responsibility. Venezuela can't give us anything. They could have how much, and they do have how much oil in the ground as they like, including the dragon oil and the manatee. But they could have done nothing with it, and we could not have benefited from it, because the mammoth hegemonious position of the United States clamped down and delivered a telling blow. But Rowley and they're so stupid. In spite of all of that, they call it, of course, geopolitical, let's say, contesting or animosity. And you're so stupid not to know that you now have to gravitate and be ginger. And he has the audacity, he Rowley, has the audacity, the temerity, the gall and the effrontery, self-righteous indignation, frankly, when things are nice or when it is in their favor. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that, when it's nice in their favor. It could only be nice in their favor in the present iteration when things are not going well as far as they are concerned for the UNC and the government. So things in their favor. Well, there was a time when Rowley said, caution, when Kamala Prasad Bissessa in 2014 or 13 thereabout, co-sponsored Trinidad and Tobago, little Trinidad and Tobago co-sponsoring, of course, a resolution at the United Nations as far as the focusing and monitoring international terrorists. Obama was the president at the time, and Trinidad and Tobago, Obama represented the United States, and of course Jamaican Prime Minister. They sponsored that resolution that was passed. Rowley was back here in Trinidad saying, you shouldn't, of course, play with that kind of fire, because you may get trampled. You may be like a spanner between the cogs of the wheel and get trampled upon. Or put another way, elephant in a savannah, trumping and running. You can get trampled upon if you are a piece of grass or a blade of grass. That's the kind of talk he was talking. But as soon as he got into office, he in the center of things, trying to opposing the United States, opposing OS, opposing the other regional bodies, and claiming, of course, that CARICOM is opposed to this and opposed to that. That time is a small group of individuals, as we are seeing now, who have commandeered taking over the organization, and with the ideological anti their people agenda. And it turned out to be, of course, a waste of time, because the Americans had their way ultimately. And as they did when they came down to the south with their military armada and dealt with, of course, the situation themselves, having put out, of course, a bounty on the head of Maduro of over $25 million. Today, all the bellicose language, and while, of course, they are not publicly seeing each other, what we know for sure, that the Venezuelans are not talking publicly about the so-called persona non grata that, of course, he, Stuart Young, gleefully believing that somehow the dragon gas will be stalled because of that. No, it cannot be stalled, because the mighty Americans are saying, yes, go ahead. Chevron is here, Stuart Young, your former Minister of Energy. Yes. Exxon is here as well. And discussions are taking place. And delegations are to, of course, engage the Venezuelans and the Guyanese. You couldn't do that. So because at the time when the circumstance was totally different, and you all scuttled every opportunity before you line up yourself behind the Americans and, of course, the OS and all these other institutions. Mike Pompeo, as the then, of course, Secretary of State, said, line up, fall in line. No, you choose to either to ignore, dissent, or abstain. That's what you did. That's all the track record. To the detriment of Trinidad and Tobago. We should have been able to soak and placate the Americans, so that the dragon gas matter would have been in an advanced stage, even if all you had to get the hell out of office. In the interest of Trinidad and Tobago, how dare you try to arrogate unto yourself some kind of special status and consideration, when in fact, you generated highest level of treason. Well, I have to go to the phone again, boy. Look as though the phone is really giving up problems tonight. But I didn't check it before, but I'll do that after the program. A pleasant good night. We have to go. We have to go back to rudiments, boy. We have to go back to caveman work. And hold the phone by the mic. But go ahead.
I hear you the phone good. And you come across on your vocal. Very good.
All right, no, good,
You're
good.
going good.
Thank you.
That's right. Drive, we are driving good. Right? But
Well, when you learn from people like you could only drive good and possibly better. Go ahead.
yeah, and the nice thing about it, he wanted Trinidad to know, to feel what the dragon he was flaunted, but he didn't want them to know that he was begging Maduro just to get the humanity side. We peace on we side of we country water. That's what he was fighting for. And you leave out the part, all that millions of money was paid if it's in US. I want to know if you get a refund on it.
We will know all of that in
Because
due course. We know that all the front talk, the talking and blah blah mouthing and getting on as though they have no cocoa in the sun. In the fullness of time. Go ahead.
Yeah, so others how to say, others given the PowerPoints on your speech.
No, thank you.
So he have to say the million US, how it was paid, to whom it was paid, and on to what, to get what in return.
Yeah.
And then Perenco, right?
Mm-hmm.
What a bully BP to downsize the operation, to give away the low production field. Eh? And when you see the Coca Manatee, right? And the Parenco, and the next one, what do you call it? ConocoPhillips.
Yeah,
You
ConocoPhillips,
have to
yes.
answer about all of that. You see, here want to talk about ConocoPhillips, let me hear what they do them. But when they leave and only leave one man in the country to run the asset, then you hear a next company buy them overnight quietly. You don't have to say who cut them deal. But you see, the nice thing about it, all who listening tonight, I would like to say condolences to our stalwart and activist from Doug Digo Martin.
Yes, yes, yes. I'll just
Right?
say something tonight on that for sure. We'll wait until a
Yeah.
little later. But go ahead, my friend. That's all right if you're in front of me.
Yeah, no. I sorry, I joined a little later, though, but I humbly apologize.
No problem.
But, I didn't say good night to each and everyone, and welcome to the show, and pass and drop a little dollar for Uncle Lennox.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so,
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
so Uncle Lennox, that fella you're talking about, you see all that criminal activity was going on with the killing, he responsible for it, because he admit the Henry Hub was given $2.49, and the European was given $19, and the Chinese market was given $19 outside the Henry Hub. That's what you want to say. They would have said any accent as a taxpayer and a citizen. I must want to know where my money went. So, Stotty, tell me, when Franklin Carr was alive, did only purchase for $80 million US a Burton spot up the Henry, what else called the big river there? The Hobson, right where the Henry tank farm is. But then again, Stotty, you didn't want to negotiate with others. That's why you suffer the beach field under Trinity, I know, territorial. Oh no, it's not territorial. What do you call it now? What's your name? So, Stotty, why you didn't want to get them the license to bring in the gas? Touchstone. You didn't want to get them the license. And he was paid for a delay on it. But the nice thing about it, I tell Uncle Lennox on this program, and we lost a good caller from Arima. When I told them, I said, Uncle Lennox, check the map, and you see just on the tail of the map there, going down Guyana, just go straight across there. All the oil and gas waiting for we there. As long as we get somebody to bring it out, we will get it. And it's closer. We had to pass through nobody water. We coming through, we own water, and we own everything. And it's closer. And we had the gas there, and the oil there. It's proven. Since at any other time, when they do the seismic survey, right? That record is there, Stuarty. You see, all they can only hoodwink the poor, vulnerable African people. Because it's hurting me tonight to know a 9-year-old child had to get any melee. And these fellas and them only treat and only leave the people, the other citizens who want to be law-abiding and doing the right thing to go to church. They can't even go to church, Stuarty. They can't even go in the school, Stuarty. And all they want to come back in office for what? The PNM supporters have to know that all they didn't care about them, but I was spitting on them by Stuarty, boy. And I will keep saying it, and I will remind the PNM supporters, because all they was spitting on them, because all they tell us for to reach up high, and that gas deal is all they go on clear. But answer how the merchant back, and I want to know one Baroda for the citizen one, for the citizen one in Jamaica, $75 million in stock. Where it gone? Brian Manning and all that to answer that thing, boy. And all they talking about all they supposed to create job. All they want my esteemed political leader now to feed all the supporters, give them everything and leave the UNC supporters unattended. And emergency call, when Rowley was up and down the Caribbean lobbying to go to America to small block. That's why Macrobio asked you, and what shall I be telling you? Condolences? Oh, congratulations. Uncle Lennox, continue sing, boy, sing.
Thank you.
I will whistle.
I hear you, my friend. I hear you. Yes, indeed. Of course, in spite of the inconvenience of the my scenario, I think we are doing pretty well. I want to say, of course, formally my condolences on the corridor transformation as well, my own family, because we know him very, very well. We knew him very well. A stalwart, yes, indeed, member of NATEX up to the, I think, his last a very active period, yes. And of course, a former vice chairman of the National Carnival Commission. And I can tell you, he is the man, or was the man, if you say in past tense now, that created the Carnival Village. Carnival Village, yes, I remember that. And we were at another station, I think was 102 or some, not 102, 104, I believe it was. Yes, and we had to engage, of course, in the promotion. And it's the first time we really, as a team, Andy, Mikey, and myself, got a little break in terms of advertisement on our program. And he was there to assist in that process because he believed in the small man. He believed, of course, in persons who would have had ambition, but not yet all of the acumen, including finances, in order to advance. And so he was there and provided, we got, of course, advertising contracts for the radio station, and we were able to get some sustenance as a consequence. And it's not that it was no political favoritism. We worked for our fair share. We worked, and therefore, just as everybody else, we ought to have been paid. His position was that we have been working in the vineyard day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Not certain in absolute, because in human circumstance, it's not like chemistry or physics where you could predetermine an outcome. If you put two elements together, what the outcome will be. You put salt in water or sugar in water, you know it's going to melt. It wasn't like that. Human situation is not like that. Unpredictable. But there are certain element of confidence coupled with sacrifices that can make a person believe reasonably that in spite of the twisting and turning and the meandering and the uncertainty and the helter-skelter and the higgledy-piggledy of human circumstance, the likelihood that the effort will bear fruit futuristically. We were that confident in, of course, our cause, because in other words, we saw the evil and the diabolical and the wicked and exploitative nature of the PNM in office. And because of the fact that this political arena is one of numbers, we saw, when we look at the numbers, PNM, of course, waning, losing ground. And at the same time, the UNC was gaining ground. And a similar assessment was made in Tobago. And so that is why, in spite of all of the pollsters, we were able to predict this victory. I was saying 39 in Trinidad. We ain't too far from it to 28. 26, I should say. And of course, we were absolutely on the ball with respect to Tobago on every occasion. You know, we lose to Watson Juke, and they will lose everything in the recent past. And that came to pass. But the fact of the matter is that the generic results is one that was predicted. Of course, we observe in the present circumstance those who were saying, and sometimes, of course, at variance with us, and we simply laugh. Sometimes Mikey, Andy, and I will get together and say, look at that one and look at this one. I ain't calling any names. It will be unprofessional for me to do so, because we want every hand on deck for this challenge that we have, that Trinidad and Tobago has presented us, almost by default, because of the incompetence, impotence, and the management and administration, corruption, nepotism, cronyism, and the unpatriotic conduct of the PNM under the successive leaders. I say successive leaders here from the point of view from Mark Rowley right up to young ephemeral as it was, including the present one, or the present ones I should say, because they really don't know who is the leader in the present circumstance of the PNM. But let's go, let me see if I could finish that tonight, and now that the telephone is giving problems, so maybe divine intervention. Let me go there quickly.
Which negatively affected many people. I am also mindful that 5 years later, having survived largely unscathed through the skillful efforts of the executive, it is now easy with hindsight to apportion blame. That is certainly not my intention here. That is a recognition of how the government handled the COVID pandemic by the same Court of Appeal judge and the reality. But to look at something in hindsight after COVID and after all of the difficulties is very easy for some to go astray.
I don't know why he brought in COVID into that, but I suppose what he was hanging on to is the public, what I consider to be utterances and declaration. Remember, they started out by saying, and you see, they just forget. They started out by saying God is a Trini and COVID will never come. The Minister of Health was telling us, the ASSA was telling us, listen, do not buy those masks. Leave them for the doctors and the nurses and those who are frontline engagers as far as persons who may fall victim to that virus. Remember that? And they went and said and claimed the most phantasmagorical story without any proof, without any objective evidence. They told us that some survey by somebody who clearly wanted to get into their good graces to get some money, as we saw the lobbyists did. The fellow who ended up with, of course, Naikwan, the Naikwan man, who ended up, of course, with the gas to liquid plant that blew up twice and killed someone in the process. Yeah. But just like that lobbyist in Washington, who was paid for Trump to make a call to Rowley. And Rowley, of course, said, well, he went to the bathroom. And suddenly, he got a call. And when he listened, of course, at the other end, it was Donald Trump. That theatrical make-believe, despotic, despicable hoodwinker. That time he knew that they orchestrated it, you know, but he pretended that he's so important. He on the world stage. He's so important that Donald Trump called he without, because he is a major player in the Western Hemisphere. That man called Rowley. The man is a total joker. A pleasant good night and welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you, my friend. We have to go back to basics, boy.
Yeah, boy. But I can left out having Gonzalo tonight, boy.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The CNC station.
Yeah.
I believe with Jason Williams. I believe they does allow these fellas and them to come and lie on this station, boy. Left, right, and center, boy. It's is either Mr. Garvin here, either is Mr. Ramsamu or in him, either is Marvin Gonzalez. Like, as something happen, them are waiting to see the outcome of it, or the evidence should come out. They going early to give the version of it, and the version of it always wrong because they're not giving it time to take teeth. You see?
I want to tell you, go to the top of the
like-
class. Go to the top of the class. Go to the top of the class because
Yeah.
that has been my observation as well. We saw it with the radar. We saw it, of course, with the battleship, and we
You
can go on
understand?
and on. But go ahead, yes.
Yeah, because here Marvin Gonzalez running him out that the murder rate then
Yeah.
gone more than last year. And when Williams asked him more than last year, he said, yeah, for the past 2 days it was on par. So now it's gone more than last year. And when you hear now, it's about 12 less or 14 less.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. That's right. I said it on the ground report this morning when Wayne Sturge,
Okay.
yes, was the thing.
Yeah.
I mentioned it. I said
understood, but
109,
because
109 now as opposed to 120 then. But go ahead.
yeah. So how I like the conversation, how it was going. I say I ain't gonna call it because Winston was giving us some good insight what we didn't know, right?
Yes.
The other thing, he jump out and say Kamala talk about the municipal police and all the kind he talking about, and the commissioner and police have to give directive to them when you do hear the cry that in local government and not under the purview of the commissioner and police.
That's right.
So Marvin Gonzalez and them just go with things that they know they're going to lie, and they will lie, and they don't care about what happened with the lies.
But
What you feel
I
or
want
what
to
you feel,
indulge. I want
these
to.
have to be people.
Yeah, I want to indulge your observation ability because you seem to be a very perceptive person.
Yeah.
Do you, apart from the fact it is understood that they are deliberate, but my difficulty is that they jump from that, and tomorrow if something else pop up, they go to that, and even though the last one was settled not in their favor or contrary to what they're saying, they move on as if the last one didn't exist. Have you observed that?
Yes. Already.
Yes.
And the other things they always tell you when they're talking to you, they just tell you that you know to believe them, and when you believe them, you smart. But when you believe them, you really stupid. You're smart. So that's the assessment they just put on you now to make you believe you're a wise person. But it's only fools just listen to the PNM. Hear what I tell you today. No wise people and listen to them at all, and they will lose, because you know why, brother? The truth must prevail over lies.
That's right.
Or the good must prevail over evil, and the PNM with Peno Beckles in both of them pure evil.
All right.
Totally evil, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, man. Another person trying to get in, so let me give him a chance. All right, thanks. Yes. Yes. All right, let me try this one. A pleasant good night, welcome.
Yeah. I'm just here talking about somebody passed away from the carnival.
Yes. Oh gosh. What's his name? Don Sylvester. That's right. That's the man. Don Sylvester. Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That was
Stalwart. Yeah. He a very congenial guy, very accommodating, very helpful. I mean, he will bend over backwards once you are ambitious and once your position is clear, and he could accommodate. He will, regardless of who you are, and that is how I knew him to be. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to say condolences to the family and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thanks very much. I'm certainly going to make a big scene of that tomorrow on the ground report. Don Sylvester has passed away. For those of you who just joined us, Don Sylvester has passed away. A stalwart, of course, in the UNC, African, who gravitated to the UNC at a time when it was taboo to to be in the UNC as an African. So he would have passed through that evolution and that firestorm. But he hadn't, and of course, eventually the UNC prevailed. But let's go to the line. A pleasure. Good night. Welcome.
Hello, good night.
Hey, man.
Professor Lennox Smith.
Hey, you going, boy?
The teacher.
Yeah, man.
Lennox.
Hey.
We want more investment in this program.
All right,
this program is a UNC program and a balanced program.
Yes.
And we have to keep up the work. Sometimes that's a UNC activity might be just a chanted about what. But you know, either man fully 100 million white jacket, black jacket. Either man has supported the UNC. Because you know, I never grew up in a PNM house. I grew up foundation.
Well, I know you to be
UNC,
constant like the Northern Star. I know that. Yes.
You know, sometimes I might really can't survive, so I might let us speak out. And people losing authority who get thin skin.
Yes.
I KFC, you know, either man from the ground or who feels it knows it, Lennox.
Yes, man.
So, Lennox, must say condolences to be brother,
yeah,
John
boy.
Sylvester.
Yeah, boy.
To the UNC family and the extended family. What a nice man. He was a part in the commissioner over the Savannah up there.
Yeah. He was the vice chairman. Yeah, for a very long time.
The vice chairman, yeah. But then that man was thinking that some year was going to find a city in the West Corridor, some of them going to St. some on that side down there.
Mm-hmm.
But he really get that support because you know Porter's friends when he read.
Yeah. But it is now being dampened by yellow.
Yeah, that strong African brother, a tall fighter at the UNC.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, he gravitated there and sat there.
She lost her stalwart.
Yeah, at the time when, of course, people like that was rare. He entered there when people like of African descent was rare in terms of wanting to be on the executive itself, of the national executive of the UNC. So you have to give him kudos, and you have to see he was a pioneer, and he led the way for other people, quite a lot of Africans along the East-West Corridor. Yeah.
But you think that turned out that because if we really get through it, I'll sit in the East-West Corridor, Africa.
Yeah, of course. But of course, you know, they just called me Moses. So he's a Moses as well. I mean, he actually died before he see the promised land. But I'm hoping that I could be Joshua and get into the promised land.
Someday they go wake up and smell the fresh coffee, the girl. Let's say what's no Lennox.
I'm convinced.
The best interest I had, to take the country for,
Yeah.
But there's some ministers that wrong shit, boy. I ain't nobody. They say the activists and them who try to make the party look bad. But it's the ministers and them too, Lennox. We have to be real too,
Well, yeah, I think there's cause and effect. There's cause and effect. There's cause and effect. The action will have a not necessarily equal action, but a reaction. And everybody have to do some introspection. Watch at themselves. Everybody know themselves. And then let's move on. Yeah.
Sure, man.
Yeah,
every time I move, everybody make mistake. When that people say the worst, who caused I say the worst of what the Prime Minister and the top below in the back and they give them pass. And I that man that's told I didn't live in that, I fighting. And this and that, I was just a chant. I will be saying out of context, not politically right. And when we talk for the 2 minutes, doesn't mean what else we feel, because I know people who say the worst about the Prime Minister tapping on the back, they get opportunities, who sitting in Parliament, you understand, Lennox?
Yeah.
And I just a small fry, me want a big bag of money, I just want opportunities, and better me want a handout,
that's right.
Me want a food, me want a hamper, I want long-term investment.
And the promise was made, I cool like a cucumber, Yeah, and the promise was made that it will have enough for everybody once government is had. Government has now been had. So therefore, if some people become impatient because of the long sustained period of no food and the belly hurting, well, why is the grass is growing?
Let's can't take that for sure. Some people might drink grammar, so come and suicide.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, this is the point I'm making. Yeah, that's the point I'm making.
So Lennox,
you have survived.
We celebrated the anniversary We're going in there to organize it. You have a touchy max.
Yeah, we are. In fact, tonight we began the process. Tonight. We have some people that we have called. Tomorrow we're doing that, and by Thursday we will get the numbers that will come, that will eventually be, and we will then order maxis accordingly. Yeah.
Well, we have told what UNC supporter, UNC activated pastor. Me nobody talk about it as Martinez's husband.
Oh yeah, I did speak about him. I did speak about him, Norman. Yeah, I did speak about him because I too was unaware of his demise, but eventually I did belatedly make reference to his activism and his sterling performance as an activist.
He was always a man in the living. He was in the trenches. And
always. He was a square man. He used to go in the square and argue with every and anybody.
Because in
the square. Well, you hear the voice alone. And he had a fine voice. A fine voice.
Remember, he alone is a UNC activist in the square.
It didn't horsey like mine. Yeah, it was sharp and fine. Yeah. A baritone.
Must say good night to John the man who passed away to the family, the UNC family.
Sylvester, Don Sylvester. Yeah.
So Lennox, I look to understand.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. Yes. Yes, indeed. Well, condolences are coming in fast and furious. But of course, we have to finish up this video. It's just about 10 minutes again. So let's hear what he has to say. As I say, I will pause, make my comment, and then, of course, recommit or re-engage so that we can complete, because we have a lot of things to do. We have a country to run. We have a country to save. We have, of course, money to make, both as a country and, of course, as a consequence, the population within have to make money as well. In other words, prosperity must come a begging.
Justice of Appeal Ronnie Buru Singh went on to use very, very similar language. So the point is, the case was only determined on a very narrow point, that to not publish the policy for a few short months affected constitutional rights. But of course, mindful that there were 5,700 plus people seeking exemption, where at any given time, there were limited quarantine spaces for them to come into. And for have Anand Ramlogan, an attorney in the matter, put out a statement calling that people should hang their heads in shame. First of all, I use the opportunity once again to thank the public health officials.
Well, we could skip that. I think he has said enough. And of course, we could recall very vividly, it's like if it was yesterday, the Minister of Health under the PNM, the As Singh, told us that don't bother. Let Carnival, let the merry monarch reign. Remember that? That disease will not reach Trinidad and Tobago. God is a Trini. Do not go and buy up the mask. And then tell us after all of that, put regulations to make sure that we wear masks. Social distancing became, of course, a legal and committed requirement. Remember that? As part of the health regulations. And people, of course, were carted away or held or quarantined. All of that took place. They even, of course, kept some of our citizens out in the early days. Barbados had to accommodate some of them. And then you had the most, what I consider to be awful and unpatriotic and dereliction of duty and responsibility when they allowed Delcy Rodriguez to come in with her entourage and telling us that they didn't know who come with she. I was responsible from the ground report perspective to do what? to inquire through the Freedom of Information Act and via the permanent secretary in the office of the Prime Minister. I could pull it, don't get me vexed before I pull it now, you know. And everything we ask, who met them at the airport, they don't know. Who met them at the Prime Minister's office, or whether it be at the office or at the diplomatic center, they know. Who was the interpreter? They don't know. Because after I asked them whether there was everybody capable of speaking Spanish or English, because you must have a conversation physically. And how come they came talking about COVID, but the assassin wasn't there? Minister of Health at the time. All of that. And when we said it on one of our ground report program, Stuart Young had the audacity, the temerity, the gall, the effrontery, and the bold-facedness to send us a pre-action protocol letter. So he sent one to me, stating that I defame he, calling he a liar. And because we said it appears that birds of feather flock together, because here it is, Delcy Rodriguez is banned from a whole continent, Europe, for drugs. And that, of course, the Maduro regime had been declared a narco government, and therefore a narco state. And we say, well, it may be that Rowley and Stuart Young, and they went there to negotiate some drug deal in the office of the Prime Minister and or the diplomatic center. Is a natural, logical conclusion one can draw, being in the public space and having, of course, to do your own analysis on a daily basis on a program that prides itself of bringing the truth and nothing but the truth. And that's what we did. He sent us a pre-action protocol letter, 5-page long. And then he asked for the letter itself. I think Kwamina, one of them, was part of the whole team of lawyers. He wants we to pay $5,000 for the letter itself, the pre-action protocol letter. And he wanted something about $300,000 in defamation. Yeah, I don't get a bit vexed before I prove it, you know. We use sycophants, but I know that people will not see Lennox Smith as one who will take these matters trifle and say these things without iota of proof. So here it is. He sent us the pre-action protocol letter. And as fate will have it, about they keep our citizens out of the country during COVID, bring in a declared narco operative representing Maduro, who by that time would have had, of course, at least a $10 million bounty on his head, wanted in the United States. And we must not say that since you breach the COVID, knowing full well that Delcy could have stayed in Venezuela, and you use the technology, go in a room, as the court system eventually adopted, and you have virtual meeting. They come physically. So we say maybe they come with bars of gold and so on. They take off the plane because nobody knows when they take off the plane. And the plane itself was a sanctioned plane. And we said two things ultimately. That World War III could have started right here in Piaco. Yeah, because if the Americans had found out that that plane was coming here, I'm sure they would have wanted to seize it at Piaco. And then, of course, the vice president of Venezuela would have been in tremendous hot water with the Americans. And at that time, they were saying that the Russians in Venezuela as well, and they come with, of course, nuclear power well, nuclear armed plane and all of that we got. And the Iranians were there, and the Cubans were there, etc., etc. So all of that we knew. And we're saying that he feel offended. So, he sent us this 5-page pre-action protocol letter. What did we do? Well, I was responsible for, of course, responding to that pre-action protocol letter. And I was determined to do so with a high degree of contempt. A high degree, in other words, of disrespect for him having the gumption, the audacity to try to tell us that we were lying on him and the Prime Minister. Well, the Prime Minister stay out of that. They didn't want nothing with me because when I call him a rapist and a pedophile for over 5 years, he keeps saying, well, look, is the mother and the father I talking about and not he. That savage. There's water under the bridge. But the fact is that here it is, George Young. I'm talking so because he is still in our faces. And he's still, of course, trying to make COVID look as though it was a walk in the park, and that somehow Trinidad and Tobago did well with this so-called parallel system that they had that caused, of course, per capita, more people dead than any country of a similar population size of Trinidad and Tobago. More people dead. Over 5,000 people died. But they still have a parallel system that was second to none, and we were number one in the world. Lies. But let's go to the line complete afterwards. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night to you, Lennox Smith.
Good night to you, my friend.
Good night.
Yeah, we have a little telephone problem, so I had to use my handset. You know, we had to improvise. But go ahead.
I nothing. Once you hear me,
Yes.
I hear you.
And everybody else in the world here. Yes.
Well, you have all the device there.
Yeah, man.
You might not have the 21st century device for the appropriate time, but it do the work.
Yeah. The work.
It do the work.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing.
Yeah.
And we have to give you 10 out of 10 for even making yourself uncomfortable to make the general public and the listeners comfortable. You see, that part of it is which part the general public must appreciate. They must appreciate that side. But good night to all the listeners and viewers of the Corridor Transformation. Lennox Smith, you're singing good.
Thank you.
You're singing real good. Because when you really look at these pestilence and them that walk it by day and tell themselves they're governing this country, they had citizens of this country all over the world stranded.
Yeah.
Stranded, sleeping in bus shed, sleeping by you know, for it a barrel with fire in it, cooling themselves by barrel.
Yeah, boy.
Getting put out of their apartments. Mothers was crying and begging to come home. Whilst they was letting their friends and family and girlfriend and boyfriends come to Trinidad and Tobago. And today they speak as if this government doing something so wrong, and the majority of the citizens of this country seeing representation, they seeing development. In 11 months' time, should something like that, Lennox Smith and viewers of the Corridor Transformation, should something like that representation should offend the PNM? Why something like that should offend a political party that reigned for 50 years and more? And the disaster we in now, them complaining and saying we have problem. They created it.
Of course they created it. And we have been left with the shitty end of the stick here to try to rectify it. And they're still on a mission of destruction by trying to, of course, mislead and generate the kind of misinformation, disinformation, and outright lies and deception that we see them on a daily basis engaged.
But Lennox Smith, when you do something like that, when the oldest political party in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago supposed to be more historical and knowledgeable. When you could do something like that, you just fool the future of a country. That is what you're doing. And why the future of a country must be misled and fooled by one of the most experienced party is the most experienced of misleading.
But yeah, but it turned out to be
should
that.
not be
It turned
like
out to be
that.
that, yeah. When at one time we were saying when Rowley tell you to stand up, then you run, and when you tell you to jump, but you stand still. And if you tell you to close your eyes, bet you open your
I
eyes.
know when he holding a press conference. How when that young fella, the young fella you have in the background there.
Yes,
How when he
young.
holding a press conference, Penny doesn't be in the press conference. And when Penny holding a press conference, he doesn't be in the press conference. Who is really the leader really? Who is really the leader?
But look, as though all of them appear to be leaders because I mean, Gonzalez does his own thing. Brown does his own thing. I mean, is a headless, leaderless bunch of parasites. Really, go ahead.
Waste of spermalism. A bunch of waste of spermalism.
I hear you.
That's how I'll classify it.
I hear you.
That's
I
how
hear
I'll
you.
classify it.
I hear you.
It might be sarcastic. It might be a sarcastic word, but that is how I see it. That is how I see it as an independent caller.
Yeah, well, you have been easy because some people might have said best they had masturbated.
I also want to say this, especially for the listeners and the viewers. I support KFC 100% where he said that it's time for us to show some interest into this program and build this program because this is a program that been speaking for years. And I want to tell the viewers and them, it is better to support a 35-year-old activist than an 18-month-old activist. In fact, I'm going to say it this way. A 35-year-old only UNC activist rather than a 50-year-old PNM activist turn UNC activist 18 months now. I am asking for all the viewers and listeners, it's time to come back home by a brother program. It is time to come back home on the foundation program. It is time to come back home to the program that spread the carpet for you to walk on. It is time to come back home. And as KFC, let's support the corridor transformation and make it the #1 UNC nighttime program on YouTube. I agree with that 100%. And Mr. Like and subscribe. I know if you support that. Just cool. I know you support that. 007, spread the word. I know you spread that. And Lennox Smith, the people them asking for you to read some of them chatter. And the chatter to read out and acknowledge some of the people them and
I certainly will. I certainly will. But when I get your assistance, I'm sure that that will happen because I feel sometimes distracted by before I used to do it at the end of the program, but then it got so numerous so that we can have a scenario where somebody focus there, whilst of course I prefer to focus on the facts and the issues and so on. Not that I know that they are there, so I would acknowledge when I start in. I will but I agree with you. I agree with you that we need to call out some stalwarts and so on. And I think that is an area that someone like yourself might well be able to assist with. So we are talking, and in the fullness of time, I ain't giving out much now. Fullness of time, I'm sure we will be able to draw some kind of synergy, some kind of formula to, of course, acknowledge whilst, of course, we are engaging in the facts of the day and the future.
I agree.
Right.
So, corridor transmission listeners and viewers, good night, and a little bit bump up this program.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That was, of course, Tunji, they call him. And you have KFC, you have, of course, COP sometimes, Andy will call. But I'm getting to know them. But as I said, at one time, at the ending of the program, I would say all who would have been on chat that I could, of course, my eyes could focus upon. But I found it a bit tedious, and it was extending the time that I have. Because I would get up 2 o'clock in the morning, prepare for the ground report, and then but if you don't have that to deal with, if I don't have that to deal with, I can bring, of course, the information, as I say, and I can threaten not to just threaten, but produce the verification facts, the veracity of what I'm saying. I can prove it, right? So I'm looking forward to working with COP and others, in order to give them the time. The technology is such, it exists, and we can do it, and just move with it. And I would be so happy. I am not the kind of fella who you would see watching over people's shoulder. My management style is different. If you accept a responsibility, I expect you will do so with your utmost. And if it is you don't, and you betray the trust reposed in you, well, you lose a friend. Very simple. Lose a friend. I have more. I'm not saying that in a vacuum. I will be, of course, referring to some specific circumstance, not having to do with anything about the program itself, but extraneous, and has to do, of course, with the politics. All right. So don't feel at all that somebody is targeted on the program. No. It has to do with experience, and let me be more specific. The experience I had with the last elections, and and all these circumstances that created a candidate for Laventille Outreach for Vertical Enrichment, my party, that has been absorbed and accepted by the UNC as part of the coalition of interest. But let me just conclude that situation with respect. Oh boy, is already 9:39. Wow, how time flies. Let me just say that I was responsible for responding to the pre-action protocol letter, and of course he said, as I said, among other things, he's a liar. We call him a liar, etc. And we were able, of course, to respond. Oh boy, we have another call. Let me just take it one time. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Welcome. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah. We're saying.
Yeah, good night, Lennox. Most good night to my dear brother, COP.
Yeah, he spoke well of you. He spoke.
True fighter.
Yeah, he spoke highly of you. Yeah.
Lennox,
Hey.
I is a man that they keep it real.
Yeah.
It's 35 years and more. You is a loyal supporter, an activist at the UNC. It's time people know jump off in the last 12 minutes or 12 hours and put in the plane. There's more UNC and people who is UNC. But Lennox, I was fighting and toiling at 91.9 with the set up PNM people and them there and that program there. And I see the former boss there in the last 10 minutes because she was curling. That's much a PN activist. The station was going crash. So he present her flowers. He come across to the UNC, he get opportunities. I'm glad for that, you know. But people who fighting and told us, say that we want to add here too, you know.
Of course. Eventually we will shoot for that, yeah.
Better equipment here.
Yeah.
Because, some of them, some of them like grasshoppers eat our food. And we know we supported at the UNC, so we want this program to develop and get big, and we want art and we want proper equipment. So after that, making a contribution, we can hear loud and clear now.
That's right, exactly.
So
not from time to time.
All they try and invest in this program here. Yeah. And only run away like Geronimo and gone across by a man who support the UNC for 40-something, 50-something years, and feel like he's the best UNC. That man was cussing. You know, Campbell Posada, Ian Santa Cruz, I thought you would red carpet.
Yeah, but But let's not focus too much on that now. I always believe that. Yeah. Let's not go there. There's no need for that.
Lennox, we build our program, you know.
Yeah.
And that man portray me, you know.
That's all right. That happens. That happens.
We can't really say things on that program, but we not kind of still make we not studying. We have a new program, you know.
Yes.
And you're getting all the support and the full on channel. We that man go we took it balance talk. We not carry down the UN.
That's all.
The Prime Minister say if she can hear the activists and the supporters and them and him with the problems, things could never happen.
Yeah.
So Lennox, we look to listen.
Yeah, definitely, my friend. Yeah, it will be much more rational and everything else. Yes, my friend. Yeah. So let me just conclude quickly that, as I said, I was responsible for the response. I put almost 50 pages of documents together, and we sent it on the last day. I think it was 14 days we had. We sent it on the 14th day. To, of course, the offices of his lawyers on Duke Street. We had someone delivered it, of course, and they signed it, etc. But among the responses would have been, we confirmed that he's a liar. And, of course, we had a flash drive that he sent. I was so contemptuous. I cleaned the flash drive that he gave me. I said, I ain't even buying one. A flash drive is about $70-something. Well, I ain't even buying one. I clean it, and I upload what I wanted to show where he's a liar. And among the things that he lied about, I indicated that when he went to Washington in the first stint, he came back saying that Dr. Rowley is negotiating in Washington, as Rowley would have claimed from time to time. He go in where in the boardroom, saying that of course BP and they would keep the Angeline platform that was being constructed in La Brea. Remember, there was some industrial dispute governing that, and people downed the tools. He said, but listen, he was able to, of course, negotiate, and the platform will continue to be constructed by BP in Brighton there in La Brea, and the people of La Brea will get work. While he was saying that, the same platform was being towed away through the Gulf of Mexico to another port in Mexico for the completion of the platform. Yes, the Angeline platform. So I was a bit, hilarious. I made a mockery of this fella, and of course the several other lies that they would have told to us during COVID, especially, and then subsequently. So I had we were very confident that we had a good case and that we were speaking the truth. And of course, there's nothing more damning than speaking the truth about a particular subject for which, of course, somebody may take action because they may be offended of the truth. Well, I want to tell you, that occurred, I think, maybe 10 years ago. We're still waiting on the response to our pre-action protocol. Well, our response to his pre-action protocol letter, which we gave, our response, we're still waiting for the court documents. We're still waiting. That bloody coward. Them could talk to me. And I want to say this. The fellow who turned coat, Lala, who seemed to be in a perpetual state a La La Land. They make him a senator just the other day, I think. Temporary. Well, Andy said, well, listen, let's go to a UNC lawyer. So we went. Of course, I had already completed and committed myself to my document, done all of the necessary research, and therefore I was ready. But we went to him. Conclusion, you know what he tell us? Well, you have to pay up some money up front. That's the first thing. But what I will do, in other words, as he waiting for the money, because we say we have no money, he said that he will write the other side and the court for an extension of time. So when I went, inside of the meeting as well, So I give him, so I was speaking in a particular direction. I said, well, this is what we did. This one. He turned and asked me in front of Andy, you're a lawyer? So I said, no. Suggesting that I should shut my mouth, that he is the lawyer. So when we come outside, in spite of the position that he took, I say, Andy, I prepared this in such a way that your portion could be extracted. So we have two different documents, but responding, of course, to Stuart Young's allegations in his pre-action protocol letter. If you don't want to go, I go in. And I go on deposit my thing, and as I said, 10 years now, and we have not heard from Stuart Young again. 10 years! That bloody coward, and have the audacity. You know what we were talking about there in terms of the court decision? The court recently, and just like the false pieces of paper that Rowley talked about, emails, 5 years or 7 years afterwards, the investigation showed that those were fake, but the damage was already done. The treason that he committed, Rowley, in the parliament of the country, by accusing a certain prime minister, among other things, of murdering or planning to murder a journalist. He tried to use semantics and say it's not that what he meant, or that could not have been the conclusion, or couldn't be the inference, like if we are damn fools. That's what he said. Apart from, of course, saying that they want to influence the DPP and give them, of course, some cushy position as a judge and all of that, like, as if the executive have any role in making judges in this country. But that is what he did in the parliament. Rowley. Treasonous, in my view. So he comes there in that press conference recently. The judge says, no, how long COVID was since, 2020? The judge said, no, give judgment in favor of a family or individuals that were locked out when he was the Minister of National Security and gave the orders. The judge say that it was illegal to do. He trying to defend that day. Yeah, I say, he trying to defend that day. It's just as how a judge said that Brent Thomas was kidnapped in Barbados. I don't know, but I suspect that Hines, as Minister of National Security at the time when that unsavory incident took place, high-handedness and abuse of office took place, and exploiting CARICOM, because it was a CARICOM security plane that went and picked him up, had to be signatured, had to be authorized, had to be argued for such an action to take place by the National Security Minister in this country. It can't be nothing more, or some element of the National Security Council, in which case, of course, the Prime Minister then himself would have been involved. That's not waste time. It's not waste time. So we want to know why Hines found it necessary to go and collect a check himself in the car park, the underground car park of the Ministry of National Security, after the Brent Thomas matter would have obviously been a subject of investigation or reinvestigation by the new government when they came into office. He ran in the car park below the National Security Council, National Security Ministry, and he said, well, I only went to collect a check. So he could send somebody to do a very menial job like that. You leave there with a lot of money for sure, at least at minimum, by virtue of your salary. You're still going to hand down a check in that way? You couldn't send somebody. Well, we suspect that it was documents that was handed to him, or he went there for, in relation to who signed off on getting a CARICOM security plane to, of course, go and kidnap Brent Thomas, a citizen of this country in Barbados, subjecting him to the most humiliating of circumstance in a contemporary, constitutionally sacred society that has a respect for human rights and the dignity of the person, and the offending of not one modicum of our fundamental rights. Not one. So there is a nexus, in my view, that Hines are going below the National Security Ministry to collect a purported check. Purported check. No, he went to check to save his skin. I say so without fear of contradiction, Hines. You're in private, in the private domain now, so you can send me a pre-action protocol letter. I say there's more in the water than the person, because you'll have to explain what you was doing there. And to collect a check is too minuscule, too nebulous, too attenuous an argument, too thin, too emaciated an argument to come to court, at least with a fellow like me. I assure you, my friend. So, the point I am making here with all of this is that here it is, he is trying to say that somehow the court inconsiders certain things. You lock out the people, the court said it was illegal, full stop. Just as how Rowley tried to use all your in the cabinet and all your conspiring to postpone local government election, and the Privy Council say that all they tried to usurp, take away, replace the right of the ordinary person all over the country from voting into office, those that they prefer and rather by way of the electoral process. And we're only still, just as this Hines fella today, have the audacity to go into parliament and say that he plead not guilty for trying to take away the rights of the people to vote. I mean, these fellas are simply in a perpetual state of cognitive, intellectual, and cerebral decline. Yeah. Decline. Because I can't see the logic. All you have to do is to apologize. But they wouldn't apologize at all, because somehow they believe that wrong is right and right is wrong. I remember, of course, that Shakespeare play when these fellas speak. Well, it was Macbeth? Yes. To foul is what? Yes. Truth is wrong and wrong is truth. That's them. And one people like us, of course, I see that Mr. Sangri Grandi has hit the nail on the head. Don't bother with them. As I said, when we only tell you to jump, you stand up. And when you tell you to close your eye, you open your eye broad. And if you tell you to shut up, well, boy, you scream loud as possible, because you know it's something evil that is going to descend upon you. So I'm going to pause there, unfortunately. I'm going to pause there because it's 5 minutes to 10 o'clock. I'm going to pause here. And tomorrow we'll continue. Unfortunately, we had to take another day. But I think we would have done justice, because we had veered a bit, but to focus on that singular issue, which is, of course, the mendacious or the propensity for these people to lie, deceive, only to get in office. To do what? The statement cannot be completed without saying, to do us evil. They want to get back into office to do us evil. And they are yet to tell us, if they were in office, what they would have done. Why? Because they know it would have been more and more evil than what they say, I should say, what they say we are experiencing now. But their evil is unfathomable. And the elasticity of that evil is so elastic that if you wrap it around the earth several times, it will have room still. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. See you tomorrow morning on the Ground Report. Andy and I, and of course Snipes, as we continue with these and other issues that are of concern to the population of Trinidad and Tobago. Let's end as we started. I love this tune, which is, of course, a creation of one of the creations for 20 or 26 Carnival. But I love this tune. Let's get back to